Hey everybody, it's me, Sarah, with another process video for you. Today is day 2 of my summer craft challenge, and our prompt today is a sketch. So whether it's one you have done, whether it's one that somebody else has made, we are going to use a sketch as our jumping off point. So I'm going to show you the sketch here in just a second that I'm going to use. It is, oh, that one right there. And it is from, I want to say Creative Scrappers. I will list it in the description box below where I got the sketch from. But I love it. It's a really simple sketch that uses 2 3x4 photos, or 1 photo and 1 journaling card, which is how I'm going to interpret the sketch. But I really love its simplicity and the fact that it leaves a lot of room for interpretation. And you will see what I mean as I get started. The sketch, if you didn't have time to see it before it quickly vanished, was really 3 strips of paper in the center of the design, with the 2 photos flanking really the cluster of papers there in the center. And I am going to do that, but I'm going to add a little twist and do some detail cutting with a flowered pattern paper. So here I decided that I wanted a border around my layout, and so I just cut it down to size, gutted that back piece so that I'd have it to use for either another project or for this one. I will say, if you watched my video yesterday, you know that it was a very long video. And again, I love watching long process videos, but this one is not long, and it's really because it did not take me that long to make this layout. So starting with a sketch is a really great jumping off point if you need to get a project done, or just kind of need to ease back into the whole crafting process. Sketches are a great way to start. And it doesn't even have to be a sketch that you find online or somewhere. It can be something even of your own design, meaning that you go and look back through your previous layouts and select one that you like and replicate it that way. There are no rules in scrapbooking other than it has to be fun. If it's not fun, you won't continue. And that's really why I have stuck with this hobby for as long as I have, is I've just learned what I like, what I don't like, and I just do it. So this is a selection of the pattern papers that I have. I have some branding strips. I have chunks of paper from my scraps, a few odds and ends. That floral paper that you see me moving around, that is exactly what I'm going to be detail cutting out and using as one of my layers. So I'm just looking at the items that I pulled out from my stash to take a look at what opportunities I have and what items I have. So this collection or this little kit was actually a page kit that I put together after taking one, I think it was one of Chamel's online classes. And it was really about how to make the most of your scrapbooking time by putting page kits together. And so I went through and spent a couple days actually using the time to my advantage and putting together these page kits, so that really when it's time for me to sit down and get crafty, or whether I am going to a crop, which I do twice a month, I run a local crop for my lady friends, and it just makes it so much easier for me to grab these page kits. And I'm super productive now. I've been doing this cropping group. We've been together for 20 years, and it used to be where I would drag all of this stuff out, and I still do drag stuff, I mean, don't get me wrong, But the reality is having these page kits put together makes it so much easier. So this was one of the kits that I had done previously, and I just pulled it out and thought I'm going to use it with a sketch, and that's what you see me doing here. So I detailed cut out some of those scalloped borders. That black border, I believe, is from, I want to say that's from a Felicity Jane kit, and it's from a really long time ago. So I want to say it might even have been Christmas of 2017, actually. And I do know that is one of Felicity Jane's branding strips that I'm playing with right now. I was going to cut it like I did the black, but I decided not to. I really needed that contrast of that white against that pink. Otherwise, it just looked like another element of that first pink piece of pattern paper that I cut. So just like before, I'm an inker. Ink the edges, especially on dark pieces of paper. You can really tell where it's been cut just because of the white core. And so I'm just going to ink this, and I believe I've already done that on the other pieces. Or if I haven't, I will have sped up and you won't have to watch me do that. So I've got my pieces inked, and I'm just trying to decide if I want to add a pop of black on the left side. And I'm not going to do it in this way with that card. I'm going to do it a different way. And so here is where I knew I wanted to fussy cut out or detail cut out these flowers. And so I'm going to take some time to do it. And I know that you've probably heard this a lot if you watch process videos, how to really get the most out of detail cutting like this is to really move the hand that is not holding the scissors while you've really anchored your arms or your forearms to a nice solid surface. If you're doing a lot of cutting like this, it allows for less fatigue in your hands and arms, and also really allows you to get a good cut. So as you can see, it is nicely cut out, and I am going to play around and position those strips of paper in and around that cluster of flowers. And some of the, I'm showing you what my husband was creating while I was doing my stuff. He was making inserts for our board games. So, yeah, so I'm just going to position the pieces of paper in and around the flowers, and some of the flower petals I will lap over the strips of paper, and some of them I will tuck behind. And I think it just gives it a little bit of interest when you're looking at it. Now, what will end up happening is I'm going to adhere these together in areas, and then in order to make it stretch so that it reaches a little bit closer to the top and a little bit closer to the bottom, I'm going to cut that element in half. And you'll see obviously when I get to that spot. But I really wanted to make sure that you could see the little bits of each of those 3 pattern papers. I was very proud of myself. And so this is how it's really going to be laid out. I'll have a photograph of myself to the left and a journaling card to the right. So I didn't end up, as you can tell, placing another element of black on the left side because I kind of knew in my mind I was going to use that black frame, and the weight of that alone was enough that I didn't need any more for a strip of paper, if that makes sense. And here I'm just tacking some of the flowers down, again, knowing that I'm going to cut this in half to stretch that design. I'm still using my new adhesive, that Kokuyu or Kokuyu, however you pronounce it. Still, again, this is probably my 3rd or 4th layout that I'm using it, and I really do like it. It's a great adhesive. It gives me the flexibility to move things around, and yet is still strong enough to hold it all down when I'm done. So there I go, cutting her in half. And I will say, I really like how this layout turned out. I think it was an easy way to, kind of ease back into being out of the crafting for a little while. Work was busy, so I wasn't able to be as creative as I wanted. So having these little prompts that I've put together for everybody to use, and obviously including myself, has really been helpful. So some of those flowers I am lifting up with those dimensional foam dots, and they're not super thick, so this is not going to raise the flowers up a lot. It'll just give it a nice little shadow underneath, and I really like how that looks. So I will position a few more there at the top. And those are super, super sticky. So the ones that will end up being attached to my background paper will really secure that little portion of the design there up at the top well. So let's see here. What am I grabbing? Oh, I'm trying to get some of the larger dimensionals. So now I have placed those down, and I am working to get my photo in that frame. Just like with the other elements, I am, especially because this is a dark item, the frame, I'm inking those edges. And the inside of that frame is exactly the size of my photo. So I'm going to grab some of my washi tape that I have close by. As you can see, it's what I use to mark the end of my work surface. And I'm going to just adhere that. It doesn't need to be pretty because obviously the back of that is not going to show. And I'm just going to adhere that photo into the frame with that washi tape. And again, it's just to secure it so that it doesn't, it just fit. So I didn't want there to be any gaps. So I'm going to now play around with placement. Again, this is pretty much the design. I just want to make sure that I have enough room at the top and enough room at the bottom, and then the opportunity to overlap the flowers and the frame. So it kind of looks like it's all, growing around each other. And at this point, I had no idea, other than the layout design. I didn't know what my story was going to be. It was really just an opportunity to play with product, to include a picture of myself in my scrapbook. And sometimes it's just, little things. It's just a time to play with your supplies. I'm the first to admit that not every single one of my layouts is a deep and meaningful story. And sometimes it's not even a story at all. Sometimes it's really just, I want to play with stuff and, think creatively. And I think that's really how this layout ends up going. But I love it. And I love really the ending message that I put with it. So if you were to walk away right now, that is pretty much the design. There's going to be a little bit more added to the bottom of the photographs, and obviously things on top of that note card. But the basic design, I stayed pretty true to the sketch. So I have had this sofa die cut in my collection, as I'm sure many of you have. I believe it is a Paige Evans die cut from many collections ago, and I thought, I'm using it on this layout. I don't care, I'm going to do it. And it really just ends up being a layered piece, and I like how it turns out. You don't know from looking at the layout that it's a sofa, and so it works. It worked color-wise, and so I just kind of tucked it in there. And that is where it will eventually make its home. I have a little dish. As I said, this is a page kit that I put together ahead of time. So I had a few little embellishments, mainly papered item bits, die cuts, some cards, little chipboard pieces. That little bird that I am tucking in right now is from a die cut pack that I want to say I got at Walmart. Or it could have been in the craft section at Meijer. I don't know if your area has Meijer. I am here in the Midwest in Michigan, and so we have these stores called Meijer. And they have a little very little craft area, and they had a whole bunch of little, really dollar selections, and I think that bird came from one of those. But it's a very old embellishment as well, even old for scrapbooking standards. So I'm finally committing to where I am putting these anchoring strips down, really. And they're going to go right there. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's not a lot of adhesive. And it's really not, especially in that bottom section. I don't know outside of, but I'm looking at the layout right now, and I must have put enough on because that bottom section isn't moving. And then the top section is really going to be adhered down more with those pop dots that you just saw me peel and stick on there. So I'm tucking my photo back into kind of the area in which I had it. Like I said, I wanted it to look like the branches and these flowers were kind of growing up and around the photo and the journaling spot. And so I was just kind of putting them back the way I found them. So like all my stuff, continuing to ink the edges. And I think it just gives that nice hazy look. So the colors in this layout are not a true black. They're very much like a chalkboard black with that whitewash look to it. So I didn't want anything to be super dark and stand out more than something else, because it was a very, while it's bold colors, it's a very soft looking layout. Just nothing, I don't think anything really stands out as, an element on its own. So I used this card. I believe that is from a very old cut apart sheet, a Webster's Pages cut apart sheet. And loved the colors. Obviously, they matched the teal and the hot pink. And this is where I'm going to shove that sofa behind that card. And as I stated, that's where my journaling, or really where my little title, journaling, all that is going to go, really on that card. Or on the card that I'm going to place on that card. So one of the things that I've really paid attention to, especially this past, pretty much in 2018, the beginning of 2018, I really started to take a look at this hobby and what it means to me, and really think about what I want to accomplish in my scrapbooks. I am not a crafter who is doing this for my daughter to walk away with a whole bunch of scrapbooks. If she does and is interested, bonus. I do this because I like this as my creative outlet. However, with that said, this hobby while there's elements that are inexpensive, this can be an expensive hobby if you let it. It can also be an inexpensive hobby if you let it. So my whole idea was I wanted to make sure that the money that I'm spending is not just to slap stuff on a piece of paper essentially and walk away. So I really started to look at what this hobby means to me and what I want to get out of my pages. And at the core of it, I really wanted to, just tell a little story here and there. It doesn't have to be super profound, just so that when people are looking back through it, they can make reference to either clothes that we're wearing or something that we're doing. Maybe it's a location that either has changed or doesn't exist or is the exact same, things like that people can really relate to. And I noticed that in some of my scrapbooks, it's just, it was a nice picture and pretty embellishments and things like that, but not anything to separate the meaning of this hobby to me. And so I really started to think about how to reapproach in 2018. And the simple answer to me was I needed to make my journaling a priority. And I hadn't. It has always been an afterthought. I've always wanted to play with the pretty things, and I still do. I still do that. I just make sure that that the important elements are on the page first and take priority. And so that's really where my approach has taken me since the beginning of 2018, is to really make those words important. And so that's what I've been doing. So that's why I have that journaling card. In the past, I would have loaded that thing up with embellishments and things like that. And I don't do that anymore. I still have fun with my embellishments. I still include all that I want on my pages. I just make sure that they complement and what is important to me, and it's really getting some meaningful words down. And again, it could be something funny, something serious, something just ordinary and everyday, but I want my pages to say a little something so that people leave or people turn the page looking at the next piece of art that I've made and know a little bit something more about our lives. So I know that got really deep. I apologize, but that's just a little new philosophy for myself. So while I was talking, you saw that I detailed cut out that word today. I cut it out of one of those 3x4 cards, and the card had an ombre look of the word today, and so I just detailed cut out the darkest word today. And I'm going to take some more of those flowers, and this is not going to be the only opportunity that I take to cut out more. I'm going to add a little bit more under the journaling box, but I thought it just kind of needed a little something more. Again, I loved the idea with repetition of wrapping the branches and the flowers around what was there, and so this was just another way to extend that by cutting a little bit more out. So I'm looking for some title options here, and I have some stamps that I had included in my page kit. I like to do that so that I remember to use my stamps. I actually started this hobby as a stamper first, and then moved into scrapbooking. And so I have a lot of stamps, and I do use them quite often, whether it's for cards or whether it's to use them in my scrapbooking. So I was just looking to see what I had, and thought what I had pulled aside was not going to work with the direction of the design. But I did find some of these really cute little label stickers, and you'll see me peeling them off a piece of wax paper. So when I put my page kit together, I pulled out stickers that I could include in the page kit that I wasn't going to have to carry a whole big sticker book. So these are stickers from the hashtag sticker book. I believe this is from the Chamel collection. And so when I was putting this page kit together, I just went through that sticker book, grabbed a few of them that I thought would work with the colors, stuck them on a piece of wax paper, and then put that in my page kit. So I'm just peeling them off that wax paper because that's how they were stored until I was ready to use this page kit. So I'm going to put the word today up on dimensionals, and I don't know if you saw or if I cut it out, but I did the same with that little bird die cut. And so I wanted them all to kind of be the same height, but to vary against the elements that are already on the page. So the bird is popped up, and then the word today is popped up. And so that that flows together really nicely against the other elements. And most of the branches on the floral that are, you know, kind of wispy, I did not adhere those. I just let them kind of, you know, flop around, and it adds a nice little bit of movement and shadow to the page, especially in real life. So I've adhered down that as my title, and it's really going to be, that is going to be my title, is today. And as you can see through the magic of editing, I detailed cut out another group of flowers, and I'm just going to tuck it right in there. And it just works really nicely just to squeeze it on in, and adds another little bit of layers. And I figured that I took the time to cut that flower out, so I was going to get it on the sheet of paper. And it's going to go right there. So this is pretty much almost done. I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to move a few of those label stickers that I put up there on the journaling card. I'm going to move them down actually below my title because as you see here, I've pulled another sticker off of the wax paper. And I am actually going to use this as my journaling. And it's a sticker from that hashtag sticker book that says, "You are capable of amazing things." And I thought, that's perfect. Sometimes you need to hear that. And whether it's you hear it or see it when you're flipping through your Instagram feed or your scrapbook pages, or however it is you come about seeing little words of wisdom like this, we all need to hear this sometimes. So this is what I have decided that I'm going to do. I placed the sticker on the wax paper so that it was going to be easier for me to cut, and then when I'm ready to adhere the strips of words to the card, it'll just be easy for me to peel them off. So I have started to do that, and with each label or phrase, I am inking the edges, and I wanted the word amazing to stand out a little bit more. So as you can see here, I have pulled out the word amazing from the pink sticker, and I've placed it, that word, on top of the lid of my Distress ink. And I grabbed some of the tile letter stickers, and in a teal with a holographic or silver, it's with a silvery holographic foil on top. And I'm going to use those as the word amazing. And I like to start at both ends of a word so that I know how much space I have to use, and then finish the word. Well, see, I didn't even take my own advice. I still had to move it. So what you're not going to see me do, oh, sorry, jumped ahead. So now I'm going to, I have my title, or I have my journaling down. It's all adhered. And I noticed there was some room at the top. So I'm actually going to stamp with some alpha stickers. These are from Close to My Heart, and what you saw was me showing you the product number and description. I don't know if these are still available. They are a cursive font that you can connect together. And as you can see, I'm spelling my name. Sorry for my head. So I'm spelling Sarah, and these are all letters that as you stamp them together, the little ascenders and descenders and loops all work together, and you can connect it so it looks like a hand-lettered word. I am not skilled at hand lettering, so I love little stamps like that. So this is pretty much the design, the layout. I'm just going to stamp the date here and call this one done. So again, this is the prompt of using a sketch. I hope you guys like it. I hope you give it a try, whether it's this sketch or whether it's one you guys find. But thank you so much for stopping by. Please like and subscribe before you leave, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye-bye.